Might.
Will beat LSU because they don't have a coach. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But it'll be fun to definitely discuss it over the next couple of weeks. But I appreciate you, Dejanay, for helping us bring it down and bringing some levity to a otherwise could be depressing topic. We'll definitely talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good show.
All right. Have a happy Thanksgiving as well.
Thank you. You too, man.
All righty. Champ, that leaves it to you and I to talk about some football, a little bit of Wizards, and probably some wrestling. We'll probably speak as little about the Wizards as I possibly can.
I would much rather talk wrestling and not talk about any more football or any more Wizards, honestly. I'll just be honest with you.
I will go through the scores very quickly just because I want to say that we did cover the Wizards. I mean, it's been rough. I'm gonna pull up the scoreboard just real quick, and then we can just discuss it in general terms. We don't have to go into each game, but then we can at least say that we cover the Wizards. I don't want anyone to ever question that we're a Fairweather fan, but it's been a pretty rough week. Let me
The
see.
theme of this week was choke artists.
Yes.
That's basically what the theme was. They were choke artists. They
Yeah.
led, they were up, they were ahead, and they choked it all away. And that's why they went 0-3 this week, including getting eliminated from the in-season tournament by the Knicks. And I'm pretty sure a mutual friend of ours was extremely happy that his two favorite New York teams beat our two favorite DC teams in a span of 3 days.
And we were at home for both of them too.
Exactly. That's what makes it even worse. They were home games, and we got spanked.
Right, in both of them. So, the game that we're talking about now is the Knicks 120-99, but we're going to go back a little bit. So last week, if you want to watch us get real depressed, you can see us collapse against the Raptors, and that kind of set the tone for this week. The next game was against the Mavericks. Just real quickly, Mavericks beat us from the beginning all the way through. Never really in doubt game. They're a pretty decent team this year, the 9-3. And then the Knicks game, it started off not great. We're down 10 after one. It was a pretty even second. We kind of tried to climb back into it in the third and then just got destroyed in the fourth quarter, right? So for a 120-99 game in that one. Then tonight's game against the Bucks, we get outscored by 4 in the first. I'm like, crap, it's a good game. Like setting up all the scoring and all the different graphics so that way we can have live scoring during the show. And I left it up, and people could watch how badly we're getting crushed at the beginning of that hockey segment. But yeah, just it was pretty close in the second, 39-38 actually, overall. And in the third quarter, we actually outscored them by 3. So we were sort of cutting into it a little bit, but just in the fourth, once again, just get destroyed. I mean, we let them score 30 plus points in every quarter. Now, we did score about 30 in 2 of them, but we only scored 27 in the bookend quarters, right? And it's just ultimately we lost 142-129, but I just never felt like this game was in doubt. And at least Arun got to see a 42-point, 13 rebound, 8 assist game by Giannis. So I guess that's the one saving grace for that. But any additional thoughts on any of those games?
I mean, again, the basic thing was the choke artist factor of this team. Like, they would get a lead and look like they had it in the bag, and then suddenly they just deflated. They started missing shots, not scoring, not playing defense, and then they allowed the Mavericks to run away with it. They allowed the Knicks to run away with it. They caught up to the Bucks and finally had a lead. They had 2 times they were in the lead in this game, when it was 15-14, and then later on in late third quarter, early fourth quarter, they came back and got in the lead. But each time they couldn't hold on to it. They couldn't play defense. Giannis absolutely killed us with 42 points. Absolutely killed us. And not only did Giannis absolutely kill us in this one, but they had 5 players and 6 players in double figures, including Chris Middleton, who had 18, Brook Lopez in the middle at 16, Beasley had 16, and Dame Dollar from the guard position had 22, and then off the bench, Bobby Portis had 17. So they had 6 players in double figures on their side, and as a team, they shot almost 59% from the field and almost 38% from beyond the arc. So they shot 75% from the free throw line. So they did everything right. Offensive rebounds, they dominated on the offensive rebound category, 16-5. They had more assists, but the Wizards did dominate in one aspect, which is in the paint, 84-64 paint points. And that's with having to deal with Giannis and Lopez and Middleton as well. So to be able to outscore them in the paint, that's something, but it wasn't enough. And just back to the whole thing of they just couldn't sustain leads. They couldn't sustain momentum. They couldn't keep things going. They're now at 2-10, and we shouldn't be surprised by this because we said this at the start when they traded away Bradley Beal, when they let a lot of guys go in free agency or in deals and stuff like that. This is a rebuild, and this is the very nature and the very result of a rebuild is the fact that you've only won 2 games so far this season. You're already out of the in-game tournament, and you're just struggling here. You're struggling. And now there's memes on the internet about there's rumors that they might want to deal Jordan Poole, and it's like, okay, we haven't what have we not seen from Jordan Poole yet that everybody's already wanting to get him out of DC? You know, what have we not seen? I mean, yeah, that's all I got. I mean,
because on this game he scored 30 points, but
yeah,
so
30 points in 33 minutes. And 2, 4, 6. You also had 6 players in double figures on our side too. But again, when you're getting that scoring, but you're not playing defense.
It's the defense. It's the fact that 129 points should be enough to win a basketball game, but you can't let up 142. I mean, 142 is a crazy number. Like, you cannot allow for more than 130 points and expect to win a game.
Exactly.
Sorry, like even in today's NBA, like it's just like because you're probably not going to score over 130, so like you can't allow that. Like I think any game over 120, I think that's got to be your cap. It used to be 100 back when we were kids,
Exactly.
But now
I will say this to Robbie. What I did like this week was the rookie Bilal Coulibaly. That kid is starting to grow up, and he's starting to really show me something in especially in these last 3 games. Like, he has absolutely been really, really good. He had 12 points off the bench today in 25 minutes against the Bucks, but he's absolutely been really, really starting to step up his game. And I've really been impressed with what he's done. Against the Mavericks, he had, how many points did he have? He had 10 points in 28 minutes, but he also had 8 boards and two dimes. Against the Knicks, I think he did a lot better against the Knicks. He had 6 points. So he didn't have do that much, but he still made an impact, especially on the defensive end. So it's like he's starting to really come into his own in his the early part of his rookie year.
The 4 assists is good too. So, it shows that he has good ball control and able to move the rock as well. So,
yeah,
I think that's important to look at. Let's look at the upcoming schedule a little bit. We're playing the Hornets, this team that we have beaten already, but also lost to in the one that mattered. That one's going to be Wednesday at 7. Then we have our last in-season tournament game against the aforementioned Bucks. It's an 8:00 game on Friday. And then the next day, we're back home in Washington. Those 2 games are on the road, and that's going to be against the Hawks and so that will be back home at 7:00. And then next Monday we have a Wizards versus Pistons game. That'll be a live post game. So we'll have a post game for the Wizards and a pregame for the Capitals. Both will be discussed during the show. Any thoughts about the upcoming week?
Okay, so the Hornets game I think is going to be a tough one because the Hornets just came off beating the Boston Celtics tonight, so they got some momentum coming in, and they're at home. Even though we were able to beat them at home earlier on in the season, just a couple weeks ago, actually, in the game that didn't count. But now, again, it's a game that doesn't count, but we should be able to beat them at home again if we're able to play much better defense and keep in check someone like LaMelo Ball and things of that nature. The Bucks game is going to be a tough one because, again, it's on the road. You've already just gotten destroyed by them in your own home court, and now you're facing them. You got the extra added pressure of not being a winless team in this first ever in-season tournament. You want to get that at least one win to salvage what was a very poor showing in this tournament. but you're facing a team like the Bucks who are just so good. It's going to be really
They're going
tough.
to want to win that so that way they can be number one in their group, and there's going to be advantages, for them. So
Exactly. And then what makes this schedule even tougher is that then you're going to go from Milwaukee and you're on a back-to-back. You're back home against the Hawks team that could have your number when it comes down to. I mean, the Hawks, you never know what the Hawks can bring to the table. And again, being is a back-to-back, and you're coming from Milwaukee back home. That's a tough pill to swallow. And then you get one day off before you get back out. And then you're on the road in Detroit on Monday night. So this schedule does not do a 2-10 Wizards team any favors. I can see maybe one win, and that's the Hornets, at best, and maybe the Pistons. But that's Friday, Saturday. I don't see them winning either one of those games. If they win one of those two games, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I predict a 1-3 week, or maybe at best a 2-2 week, where they book in it with the win in Charlotte and a win in Detroit. But Friday and Saturday are losses.
That's how I kind of see it too. I just feel bad. They're on the road for Thanksgiving. They don't get to enjoy Thanksgiving. They'll probably get, hopefully they'll get a win and feel good going into Thanksgiving, but could have to sandwich between two losses. It's going to be just a tough week for Wizards fans. So I'm hoping for some exciting things, but I don't necessarily believe in it too much. I do want to pull up the standings for the in-season tournament, so we can talk about these groups just a little bit. So we are in Group B again. We're at the very bottom there. Hornets and Knicks only have one win, so we could salvage at least being tied with some of these teams if we are able to beat the Bucks. The Bucks and the Heat have won both of their games, so they still have 2 games remaining in their thing. The Celtics are the top team in their bracket. The Nets have played 3 out of their 4 games. They're 2-1. Magic are 1-1. Raptors are 0-1, and the Bulls are 0-2. The Pistons are also an 0-3 team in this tournament. The Hawks 1-1, Cavaliers 1-1, 76ers are 2-1 in theirs, and the Pacers are leading theirs with 2-0. On the west side of things, the Kings are leading their bracket. Timberwolves are in second. Warriors don't have any. They have a 1 win and 1 loss, and the Thunder have 1 win, 2 losses, and the Spurs have also not won a game in the tournament. The Pelicans are winning theirs. Have 2-1. They're tied with the Nuggets. The Rockets are 1-1. The Mavericks and Clippers are both 1-2. And the last group, the Lakers are actually leading theirs with 3-0. The Jazz are 2-1. The Suns are 1-1, and the Trailblazers are 1-2, and the Grizzlies are 0-3. So it's interesting that the Lakers, who a lot of people didn't think were going to necessarily be that good this year, are the only 3-0 team so far. But the Bucks do have 2 games left of their tournament. They're playing against us on Friday, and then their last in-season tournament game is going to be on Tuesday against the Heat. So that'll be an interesting matchup for sure. Any last thoughts on the in-season tournament before we switch gears?
Very, very unique concept. Hopefully they bring it back next year, and hopefully the Wizards can do a lot better in at least the group stage, and at least be able to get out of the group stage and put themselves in position to get into at least the knockout stage and stuff like that. But I think it's a very unique concept, and I think it's a really good concept, and especially because I like the fact that not only do you have those in-season tournament games, but they also count towards the regular season record as well. So it's not like you're playing extra games to count towards an 82 game season. They're counting towards your overall record. So not only are you playing for the bragging rights of this tournament, but you're also playing towards your positioning towards the playoffs, even though it's early in the season, but it still can be of use to you later on in the season.
Yeah. So I just wanted to talk about the football game. Kansas City is right now up 17-14 with 6:20 left in the fourth quarter. But they just did call this a touchdown. So the Eagles did just score there. And it's a 1-yard rushing touchdown by Jalen Hurts. Hurts had a really nice run earlier in this half to score a touchdown. This was another one of those push the pile things. I kind of hate this rugby move, but they discussed it before the season and they decided to let them keep it. But it's just like they've
that play actually has a name to it too, by the way.
Yeah, it's called the Philly push.
Brotherly shove.
Brotherly shove. That's what it is. Yeah.
The brotherly shove. Jesus.
Yeah. So they're able to score there with an extra point coming right now, and it is good. And they take a 24-17 lead with 6:20 left in the fourth. It's funny because the Eagles have never beaten Kansas City since I think this is right. As long as the brothers have both been competing against each other, and Andy Reid has been the coach of Kansas City. So it's a big game for the Eagles for sure. Who did you have in this game?
I think I had Kansas City, but I'm keeping a very close eye on this because I'm in a very close game in fantasy, and my opponent has the Chiefs defense, and I have Butker. So right now, I need 9 points. So I need a 50 and a 40 plus, a 50 plus and a 40 plus yard field goal from Butker, and I can beat my opponent. Otherwise, I'm going to fall to defeat. But I picked Kansas City, and they're losing right now. But I picked Kansas City.
Yeah, I think I picked Kansas City too. Hold on, let me see who I picked. I actually forgot because I went back and forth on this one a lot. And oh no, I picked the Eagles. Interesting. I was hoping to jinx them, but it's not working. So I did pick the Eagles in this one. Let me, and I realize I'm still screen sharing here. Let me switch gears real quick and just say I want to give a quick little shout out to the Ravens for getting a big win over Cincinnati. Unfortunately, Cincinnati's quarterback went down for the rest of the season. And I think he was injured before that game. What were some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the league is looking into it because of the fact that there was a post that was put on the Bengals Twitter account, now known as X, and it was removed, but it was showing Joe Burrow with the arm something on his hand. But it was promptly removed, and so, but yet he didn't show up on any injury reports. But then in this game, he did suffer that torn ligament in his wrist, which cost him the season. So I think the league's going to definitely look into that because if he was injured coming into this one and didn't show up on an injury report, that's bad news for the franchise itself. And that put their franchise quarterback in real jeopardy and put him in a position to get hurt. And that's going to hurt a lot of fantasy football teams, myself included, because 2 of my fantasy teams had him as a starter. And now I have to ride with Justin Herbert in one and Sam Howell in the other for the rest of the season. So go me. But I think this is one that we got to keep an eye on because I think that the Bengals, they messed up somewhere where if he was really hurt and he wasn't on the injury report, it's going to come out and they're going to pay dearly.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I'm gonna switch gears real quickly and change the graphic. Oops, sorry. And let me turn this one on and change it to the no spots graphic. Let people know what's happening in the world of wrestling this week. And what's going on in your upcoming show and what happened last week on your show.
Okay, so this week we have, this past week we had AEW's Full Gear, which had an 11-match card between its pre-show 0 hour and the regular show, which was really, really good. We had a lot of reactions that didn't go the entire way because we didn't have a lot of activity on either feed that we had. So I ended up going and enjoying a nice cigar and a nice alcoholic beverage on my back porch while watching the rest of the event and stuff like that. But this week on the podcast, we will be recapping that as well as previewing the upcoming Survivor Series a Survivor Series show, which is featuring 2 War Games matches. Also, this week, Wednesday, on our Twitch channel, and it'll show up on our podcast feed on Thursday. Myself and Sage will be recapping the first 2 nights of World Tag League 2022, the 2023. The tournament began this morning, Monday, in Tokyo, Korakuen Hall with A block action. They will then turn around and have B block action, and myself and Sage will be recapping both nights and then getting you ready for 6 events over the next 8 days, including starting on Thanksgiving Day with A block action all the way until the following Wednesday, and then we're back at next Thursday. But that's some of the big things going on in wrestling right now, is that we just had Full Gear, where Will Ospreay, who's still currently contracted to New Japan Pro Wrestling, has officially signed with AEW, but did ask to be able to finish his commitments with New Japan up until February before he joins All Elite Wrestling properly. So that happened on Saturday, as well as MJF successfully defending both the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships and the AEW World Championship in the main event. The tag titles were in the 0 hour as the main event in the 0 hour. So again, we'll be talking about that. Survivor Series is coming up with War Games right now. The Go Home show to Raw is about to end right about now. And we'll be talking about that, as well as SmackDown and everything else. This coming Saturday, we're going to have a midday edition of the podcast to get you ready for the live reactions to Survivor Series exclusively on our Twitch channel. Make sure you check out the podcast partners button on sportsothp.com to listen to the audio, because the audio you can find there, or you can find it on Spotify or Amazon Music to hear on not only this upcoming episode, but previous episodes as well.
Yeah, definitely everyone check out the Twitch channel. I'm going to do a champ command right now so people can find it easily. It's also in the show notes, and it's also on our Team Sports OTHP. If you click there, you can find all of the links to all the different avenues to follow them on Facebook and other stuff. And so yeah, it's a great show. I highly recommend people go check out the wrestling podcast and the Spots podcast. And Champ, I appreciate you always for bringing it, even though it's not such a fun time to talk about it. My dog wants to go out so bad. No. Anyway, this game is really close. It's I'm gonna let people go and check it out, and we're gonna rate out in a second. But thank you so much for being a part of this podcast and all the podcasts the last bunch of seasons. It's been fun to have you as a part of this team. I know that Tim is out. He has a big week next week. And he's on a trip going out to Ohio, and Arun was at the game. But I really appreciate you for being able to bring it down. And God, she's so annoying. But yeah, it's been a fun night. I'm happy we got to break down all the hockey stuff. I am going to end the audio podcast here, and then we're going to figure out somebody to raid. But Champ, any final thoughts before we let the audio podcast go?
Just hopefully the Commanders don't absolutely embarrass themselves on national TV on Thanksgiving. Hopefully they make it at least competitive enough, even if they lose. But that's all we got. Hopefully they can do something. Hopefully the Wizards can turn it around. Let's go Caps. Let's go Wizards. Hail to the Commanders and all that good stuff. And Yoki Genyo. Sayonara.
So this is episode number 322, going streaking with the Caps. The Caps have won 4 in a row, and the Commanders and the Wizards are on a losing streak. But hopefully we can get that right this week. And thank you everyone for tuning in on the audio podcast and on the Facebook feed. I'm going to end that right now. I hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys next week. And
recording stopped.
Okay, and so we are just on Facebook, or we're just on Twitch. Thank you everyone for tuning in on Twitch. I think we're going to raid my friend Ryan. I'm just seeing if he's still going strong.
Later.
He rated us last week at the very end of the show, so I thought it'd be fun for us to return the favor. We are going to send that over. We have a bunch of new options. I didn't get to go into them this week, but follower emotes are now unlocked for both you, Champ, and for me. So we have even more emotes for both of us. And follower emotes are cool because people can use them even if they're not subbed while they're on your channel. And if they are subbed, you can use them as additional emotes. So we'll have to figure that out. Now they are active on mine. Right now I have 5 placeholder emotes, but I will you for now channel points you can redeem where you design you tell me what you want the follower emotes to be for the next month, and then I pick one and I make it for you that you can then use with your subscription everywhere, even if you're not a streamer. Yeah, so it'll be fun to, or if people have ideas they want to shoot me offline for us to use as placeholder ones, I'm down for that as well. Definitely grab a raid call. Thank you, Andy, for modding. Thanks, Carly, for modding. Champ, thank you for modding and being on the show. Is a fun one. Thank you, Tina, for coming, and everyone for stopping by. I saw a lot of people in chat. It was a busy one with all the Caps talk, so I wasn't able to address everybody, but it was super fun to be able to recap and have that really successful first get together. And it's about to kick us out, but we'll be back next week with more.